Well, another drive along. Topic I think is definitely worthy concerning the paranormal. Definitely a worthy topic to bring up that I've never heard anybody bring it up. So I'm bringing it up. And that's when people experience paranormal things in their life. I think over time there tends to be a general trend for your mind to return to what is rational. And that is rational being obviously things that you can explain. I don't know, does this person have a stop? Apparently they do. I didn't see a stop sign. Oh, there it is. I'm not familiar with this street. I'm in Auburn, New York. I'm going to take the road less traveled home. That is to say, even with myself, my mind tends to discredit or forget the hauntings and other things I have known. And I've seen this in other people too. I've known people to go through hauntings. And, they'll tell people about it for a while. Like I do. They find it kind of fascinating. And people generally like to hear about it. A lot of people do. And then years down the road, they'll, I don't know, that really happened, They just tend to forget about it, selectively forget about it. And, write it off as something. Because our minds, we live in the natural world. This is why I think this is. We live in the natural world. And, paranormal events cause us to question the natural world. That things that we can see, touch, smell, hear, photograph, record, prove empirically, over and over. And paranormal things like seeing a ghost or having a visitation from somebody who died or God's angels, even anything, we tend to discredit it, tend to kind of forget about it, or just possibly say, well, that was something, I don't know what it was. And and I do the same thing. And that's why I've written these things down. That's why I've told these stories and retold some of them. I've got a lot of them I haven't retold. And I've got a few I haven't told at all, honestly. There are some I won't even tell for my own reasons. And I got to say to myself, no, Tim, talking to myself, in third person, no, these things really happened. This really happened. And particularly the things with God. Tim, these things really happened. I want to clarify something. When my experiences with God and God's angels, I don't need to remind myself about those. Those are written, engraved in my soul. Those are the exceptions to what I'm talking about here. Experiences with God, I've never questioned those at all. It's the other stuff I even question, but I make it a point to remind myself that these things really happened. And no, I'm not nuts to call myself by my name. It's just trying to get my own attention. Hey, listen, this really happened. God really does love you. Ghosts do exist. For whatever reason, probably different reasons. The devil exists, evil exists. This really happened. This happened just like you. I've got to remind myself that I'm not just coming up with this stuff. And I think other people, the same thing. our minds tend to naturally go back to the rational because we live and exist in a rational world. Again, I'm just trying to get my mind around what I'm trying to say here. If you get what I'm saying. This thing's a little bit of a nuisance. I'll try not to post any more videos of just the thing pointing up at the sky. That's kind of nerve-wracking. Some of the stories I've told on here are pretty incredible. Like the Bigfoot story, or the really encountering a demonic entity. And I've got to remind myself those things happened exactly as I've told it. And a good friend of mine, who kind of a little bit of an atheist, once said to me, he said, I believe your stories are true. He said, or at least I believe that you believe them. He says, you know how I can tell? I'm like, how's that? He says, because you've told these stories to me so many times and they never change. And he said, usually when somebody's making stuff up, the story changes somewhat. He says, but you tell the same thing when you tell of these things, of the angels or whatever, certain hauntings. And, you know, I guess I'm just telling the stories. Well, you know my reasons. I've said them before. It's part of my testimony, my life testimony. Ultimately for God. God the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Whatever purpose they have for it. And I always said, there's a purpose for everything. Including these hauntings that have gone on since childhood. That I attract, or they manifest around me. I don't know which it is. I've often felt like, now I'm just telling you the truth. It may sound a little conceited, lofty even, but like in France, the 2 times I went to Dinan, and I hope to go back in a few months. God, it's hard. I'm working hard to put the money together for this. And it's always something. I just had to shell out $2,000 for a root canal with a crown. $2,000 out of my pocket. It's always something. But the 2 times that I went to Dinan, my first nights there, I had some very powerful paranormal encounters. Very strong ones. The first one was frightening. Very frightening. And the second one in Dinan, but a different house, and they were all medieval houses, was the cat and the dog that greeted me. And they weren't natural. They weren't. I always felt like I come into town and they're like, that's like their welcoming committee. Oh, he's here. Let's go pay him a visit. That's what I felt. Like, you know, I'm somebody special or something. But in some regards, we're all special. But I think they'd say, well, he could see us, or... But say, you know, I don't know. I'm just speculating on the reasons. But I just wanted to make this video and open up the topic that a person's mind generally doesn't try it, like almost like a law of physics, you know, or like osmosis gradient where things return. I'm just searching for words, all right? Like if you put salt in water, it will spread out evenly. Things tend to drift towards the natural and what is natural. And I think our minds are the same way. Our rational minds tend to return to the rational. And that is to downplay, possibly even, I've heard, deny paranormal things that have happened. And I've seen that with a number of people in my life that went through hauntings with me, experienced them, thought it was scary, fascinating. And now you ask them now, like my daughter, she'll say it never happened. You know, they do that. They do that. And I don't know what her spiritual condition is. I won't talk about her here any more than that. But I won't lie to myself and tell myself these things didn't happen just the way I've explained them. Because an untruth is worthless. It's worse than worthless. It misleads people. We have to be honest with ourselves in that regard. So I've written these things down. I've told them on YouTube. I've told everybody that knows me has heard my stories. Everybody. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it is what it is. I gotta put the windows on. And things have happened the way I've told them. And I plan to write a book on my spiritual encounters. I'm not sure what to call it, but that's one of my goals, going to France again. I want to pray there for Europe. As I said in my video about Islam, I think Europe and Britain and what was or is the Christian world is under attack by Islam. It spreads like a cancer. I want to go there to pray for that continent or that land, and also to Britain, and pray. Whatever God's will is. But I also want to write my books. And I think I'm going to take all the spiritual stuff that I've put on this channel and put it into 4 books, segregating. You know, book 1 would be all the encounters with God and His angels. Then I've got ghost stories. Then I've got demonic attack stories. And then I've got visitations. And then maybe one book to tie it all together. That's my plan. And self-publish it, probably on Amazon, which I know how to do. I just don't think books are the way to reach people anymore. I don't. I think this is the way. Because people will watch a video before they'll pick up a book, usually these days. And with me, I'll tell you about videos. If it's got an AI speaker with AI images, which I have used, I don't use them very much at all anymore, but I've never used just AI. You see these NDE or spiritual or even Christian videos on YouTube where it's got an AI speaker, and some of them sound quite natural, but they kind of give themselves away as AI. Usually they'll mispronounce words, the idiosyncratic words. But if somebody uses strictly AI to tell a story or a narrative with AI images, I don't believe it. I got to see a real person talking, or at least you can use images like I have, but at least a real person telling the story, of their testimony or whatever they're talking about, if possible. I mean, if you're talking about something in history, certain topics, but a person's testimony, I want to hear that person tell it, or it loses credibility. So, yeah, take a detour. I guess that's all. I won't take up any more of your time with this video, but I'm not sure. I got to take a detour. I just wanted to broach that topic, that a person's mind tends to go back to what's rational, my own included, and I have to remind myself, no, this really happened. And people I've known, almost all of them, that have experienced paranormal things that aren't ghosts themselves now, tend to be the same thing. They tend to discredit things that happened in their past. All right, I get on to another topic at this point. So I've decided I'm going to tell that topic in another video, which is Satan's 1-2 punch to knock out marriages. Totally different topic. Regarding the topic of people tending to go back, isn't that pretty? I love that green and gold there. I love this area, honestly, except in the winter. Regarding the topic that I was talking on previously about people tending to go back to the rational setting over time, in regards to their paranormal experiences. I'm going to talk about a couple that I really have returned to time and time again to remind myself this really happened. And one of the most incredible ones for me was the story of the Indian woman and the spirit hawk. Happened around 2017, where an Indian woman, I presume she looked like an American Indian, but I don't know, came out of a tree and came right up to my face, looking pretty wild. That story, if you want to know that story, I can put in the comments and I'll give you a link to it. If not, maybe I'll put it in the description, but I think you all have heard it. If not, ask and I will provide. And a hawk, a white hawk. I've got to remind myself over and over, this really happened because it's so incredible. The white hawk in the same place 2 weeks later, when I went back there after kind of avoiding that hillside for a while, and I was avoiding that hillside. And this all happened about 6 miles from where this car is right now. In Sempronius, New York, part of Moravia. But the white hawk, perched up on a limb, not far from where the Indian woman came out of the tree, and glided down next to my car, which I slowed down. I'm only going like 15 or 20 because I'm looking at this completely white albino hawk. And this thing slowed down and glided with its wingtip almost touching my side mirror or my window on the driver's side. I could have rolled down the window and I could have put my hand on this hawk, on its wing or back. That's how close it was to my car. And it followed me all the way up the hill like this. And I'm looking at it and I wanted to get a picture of it. So when I got to the top of the hill, I pulled the car over and the hawk, of course, it didn't hover. It stopped following me and landed on a nearby limb and was looking at me and flew off as soon as I got my phone ready to take a picture. I got to I have to remind myself often, that really happened. As well as another one with that black mass that was trying to get down my throat when I was sleeping in that trailer near this place, near the place of the Indian woman and the hawk. And when I got up choking, seeing the black mass come out of my mouth like something on a low-budget horror film, and just kind of nebulous black blob just kind of came out of my throat and mouth, hovered there a bit, and then in a very fluid motion fell down through the floor and vanished. Things like that. And the story with my Bigfoot encounter is pretty incredible, but that was very traumatic. And the proof was going downstairs the next day, and seeing my furniture thrown all over the place like I had heard it being done, and my back door wide open like I heard. And it was real. So, yeah, even I, over time, begin to question myself. But I periodically remind myself, no. But the exception is, anything dealing with God's presence, my stories of God and the angels and the Holy Spirit, I have never questioned any of those visitations or stories, events. Never. Those are written on my soul. And it's just all the other wild stuff you've heard on this channel that I've questioned, but, I wrote it down and I've told and retold these things. I don't know. I don't know. It is what it is. So, take care. God bless each of you.